Hello, everybody. Welcome to Manor 208 Online. This is Alyssa, and I am here talking with Kailey Marshall, who just released her debut album, Ghostwriter.
Hi, everybody.
All right. So, first off, can you just tell me a little bit about yourself and how you got started in music and everything?
Yeah. So I have loved music my whole life. And particularly have always loved musical theater and pop. And so I went to a arts high school growing up, and I was a vocal major there. So I studied like classical voice. And then I went to college for musical theater. And while I was there, I felt really insecure about myself as a performer and just didn't feel like I was very good. And ended up testing out of music theory because I'd taken so much music theory in high school. And because of that, I got to take a musical theater writing class. And that was when I really started writing. And I guess I had always been a writer, but I just hadn't labeled myself that way. I used to write books of lyrics when I was a kid and in all these journals. And like I could hear the music in my head, but I would never set it to anything. So I started doing that in college, and I was really bad at it for a while, like pretty shit. And to the point where my professor was like, I don't know if you should take the next section of this class.
Oh, no.
And that was devastating, but lit a huge fire under my ass to be like, okay, I am going to do this. And then I slowly started to get better. And then I slowly started to love it a lot to the point where I was like, oh, I actually really want to do this instead. And yeah, that's how I started writing.
That's really awesome. So I have seen that. I was trying to do a little bit of pre-reading since I wasn't super familiar with your work before setting up this process. So you've done a little bit of like you've produced some, or not produced, but you've written for some shows in the past.
Yeah. So I have written 3 full-length shows now. My first being Confirmed. The second one is called Songs for Slutty Girls, and the third is called Vengeance. And so this concept album is my first foray into just creating an album to be listened to standalone, mostly because I started writing it in the pandemic, and I was like, I can't go to another Zoom theater thing. Like, I just absolutely cannot. And I don't want to make another Zoom theater thing. So I was trying to find something that could be a way to create art that didn't require us to be in person to experience it. And I've always loved pop albums more than anything. Like that's what I listen to. That's what makes me happy and fulfilled, is listening to pop music and a lot of other
Me
different
too.
styles as well. But I love pop music so much. So I was like, I want to write an album that's like the albums that I love listening to. And I got that idea, and then of course Taylor Swift's albums came out, and I was really inspired by her writing on Folklore and Evermore, and how in putting yourself into a completely different mindset of a different character who is not you. Because I've always, even when I'm writing for theater, I write very autobiographically, and this was one of the first times I really felt like I could step out of that and have a little more fun with trying on different people. And so the whole conceit of the album is that it's about a pop star who is in an abusive relationship with her girlfriend, who is also her manager. And she finally decides to get out of that relationship, and ends up meeting another songwriter who ends up writing with her. They fall in love, and they write this brand new album with a brand new sound for her. So that was kind of what I was thinking about the whole time, was like, if I was a pop star, what would it feel like to grapple with ideas of fame and loss and abuse and all of those things?
That's really awesome. So how would you say that your theater background influenced the way that you approached the songwriting for this album?
Um, it didn't really. I was mirroring a lot of albums that I was really into at the time. So like Future Nostalgia just dropped, and I was like, oh my God, I want this to sound and feel like Future Nostalgia.
Oh yeah, that is such a good album.
It's an incredible album. So I was listening to stuff like that where I was like, how do I make what I'm writing sound and feel like this? The thing that theater does help me do is it does help me tell a story with the song that I'm writing. And a few of the songs that are on the album I would label as story songs in a way. But for the most part, I really got to step away from the theater aspect of things. And that was really freeing, because parts of the song, like the lyrics don't have to make sense to a certain character. It's not happening in real time. It's a glimpse or an image of something that is going on in this person's life that you may not understand what it means at that moment in time, but but it's up to interpretation, which is what I love about pop. And something that I love about storytellers within pop is that they'll be like, oh, this song is actually about this. And you're like, oh, I didn't take it that way. Oh, I felt this totally different interpretation. That's what I love about that kind of music, is that you really get to take what you want from it and make it your own story after listening.
Yeah, that honestly, that I feel like that's one of my favorite things about just music in general, is just like the writer could feel a certain way and mean a certain thing, and then somebody listening to it could just take the lyrics in a completely different interpretation. And I just think that that's beautiful.
Me too. That's what I love about music in general.
Let's see. So, was there like anything specific that happened that inspired this story behind this album, or was it just kind of an idea that you had?
I've always been obsessed with the idea of pop stars. If I was a better performer, I think I would want to be a pop star. I don't think I would, because fame is so scary and toxic. So I've actually always wanted to be a ghostwriter for pop stars, because I feel like you get to experience fame not happening to you, but you like get the respect or like the inside scoop on like that kind of life. And so I was like, gosh, wouldn't it be cool to like follow a ghostwriter who writes for pop stars and like what that would feel like for them. And then I also always just been really interested in abuse in the music industry, because it's so rampant, especially for female and femme artists who have to deal with like abusive producers. And I always think that's something that's A, so terrible, and B, needs to be examined more. And I loved the idea of creating this queer relationship within it, two queer relationships, one of which is bad and abusive, because all relationships can be that way, and another which is loving and different, and how like even women can be villains in stories and like use power in a way that is not okay. So I liked exploring that as well. And yeah, I was watching and reading a lot of different stuff during quarantine that was really making me write these songs as well, like taking things from other people that I was seeing or reading or watching that inspired a lot of them. And a lot of women who were complicated anti-heroes and writing about them from this perspective of, I'm this pop star and I'm this ghostwriter and I'm this manager, like how that would feel. So yeah, that's nothing really happened. I've always been really obsessed with that stuff, and this felt like the right format to put it in too.
That makes sense. And like, I just, as a queer person myself, I really appreciate the writing from the queer perspective, because I feel like there's always room for more queer representation in all forms of media, and so that's really refreshing to me.
Yeah, agreed. And that's something that I've not been super public about, but have slowly started coming out to my friends and family. So that was also something that I really wanted that I've been able to embrace my queerness through my writing processes, because it kept coming up, and I was like, this is something that I have to address, that like is happening for me personally. And I've just wanted to keep writing about it, and it's been a really cool way for me to explore my own queerness and sexuality through writing these things. And yeah, there's just not enough queer representation, so it feels fun to be doing that.
And it's really beautiful. So I know you mentioned like Taylor Swift and Dua Lipa. Were there any other artists that you feel influenced the sound of the album while you were creating it?
Yeah, lots of Gaga. I was thinking about
nice.
Gaga's, what do I want to say? Her metamorphosis throughout the years, because she's done. I love how Gaga tries on a different hat all the time, where she's like, okay, well, now I'm going to be this person, and then today I'm going to be this person, and I'm going to be this character tomorrow. And I think she's one of those artists that does put a lot of herself into art, but also does have a little bit of a wall up behind this like character that she presents. But I believe, I also feel like that allows her to step into these other people and these other genres. I was thinking a lot about Joanne when I was writing this, and I was thinking not that there's a couple of songs that sound a little Joanne-y on the album, but like I was thinking about like, how does she go through those phases musically, and what does that feel like to try on those different hats? So definitely Gaga. Muna is one of my favorite bands in the entire world right now, and I thought about them a lot. I thought about Robin a lot, who I just think does what Robin does really well, is club music that makes you feel something. Like you want to dance to it really hard, but the lyrics hit this really emotional place, and that's something I really wanted to try to do. And there was weirdly a little bit of Tori Amos in there as well, who's from obviously a 90s artist, and like only plays piano, but I only play piano as well. I put a little bit of her flavor in it as well. Those were people that I was listening to while I was writing this.
And that's awesome. That's really awesome. Let's see. So you worked with several different very talented vocalists on this album, including like Monica Rosenblatt on your lead single and several others. So what was it like to work with so many different people, and how was the process of trying to combine so many other creative perspectives into one body of work?
It was honestly a freaking blast. I think as somebody who has been a solo, who like writes my own stuff and doesn't really collaborate super often with other writers, this felt, because musical theater, it's very much here's what's on the page and we need you to do what's on the page and like figure it out. Whereas this just felt so much more collaborative with both my producer, Devin Lewis, who produced all of the tracks and brought so much to them. And then the vocalists, it was incredibly fun to work with them, because I would send them demos of the track, of like rough demos and lyric sheets. And I would just be like, here's how it sounds. And then they would come in to record like the stuff that I knew that I wanted them to do. And then we would get to play after that. So we'd lay down all of the like, here's the verse, here's the chorus. And then there would be these moments where we were like, okay, we're just going to play the track and you're going to do whatever you want. So have at it. And that was so fun to see what they got to come up with on their own. So that was really cool to bring all of these people into a room who I really respect and enjoy working with, and to get to experience their artistry at the same time was super fun. And I think it makes for a really dynamic sound, because you're hearing a different voice on every track. So every track's going to feel a little bit different, which I think is really fun. And all of my vocalists are just really incredible, kind humans who want to create a difference in the world through art. So that was just really fun to be in a room with them and talk about like what they like to do. And then of course get to listen to all of them sing so beautifully. It was a real treat. It was awesome.
And that really is one of the beautiful things about art, is just having different perspectives all come together and the different things that can be created. Yeah. So are there any tracks that you are specifically like especially excited to have out now, or that you would consider to be favorites, and maybe why? Or is
Yeah.
it just kind of all one thing?
I mean, I really love all of the tracks. They all have a special place in my heart. But I think the ones I'm the most excited about after releasing it today are In Between Ya, which is a duet that Ari Krebs and Carrie George are on. And it's a song, it's a little more harder rock than pop. And the whole premise of that song is a woman who is at a party where two other women are hooking up, and she wishes that she was a part of that. And it is really sexy, and the vocals are incredibly sexy, and I'm really proud of how that one sounds. Lyrically, I'm really proud of this song called Conway that's a little bit more of a folksy song. I really love the lyrics in that one. And then I Want Everyone to Know is probably the other one that I really love, that features Mary Claire Miskell, and it's definitely one of the like very pop oriented ones, but
Mm-hmm.
lyrics are very the song is about abuse, so it felt good to get that one out, because it's a lot about like how you deal with those demons from your youth and how that comes out as an adult and how to deal with that. And it felt good to like get that anger out, and MC sounds so good on it, and it's like really fun to dance to. So all of that those are the three that I'm like really excited about in this moment, but I'm really proud of all of them. Like I like them all. I like listening to all of them.
As you should be. I did give it a listen earlier, and it's very solid. And I have to say right now, I've been vibing with a lot of like angry pop, so definitely feel that.
There's a lot of that in this.
Like I usually veer a little bit more into like the rock territory, but then there's been a lot of like emotional angry pop that's been coming out, and it's just like, yes, I love this too.
Yeah, that stuff is really good, and that's what I love, that idea I was talking about with Robin of like really emotional lyrics, not necessarily sad emotional, but like that can be super angry emotional as well, and setting it at this backdrop of just like, oh, this is fun to dance to too. So that's really cool. I'm glad that you like it.
And so I was going to ask, are there any plans to potentially turn this story of the Ghostwriter into like any kind of show of its own, or is it just going to remain its own separate entity?
I would love to make this a faux concert is what I will say. I would love to put this in bars and have someone play Ghost, which is the pop star's name, and do these as a concert with like, you know, when you go to a concert in between songs, they'll kind of talk about either like why they wrote their song or like talk about something else as they go through songs. I would want to write something for that as well, so it would feel like a real concert, but it is all like contrived and a little scripted. But yeah, I think that would be super fun, because I don't want to sit in a theater at all.
Yeah, that does sound really cool. So other than celebrating your album release today, what's next for Kailey Marshall?
I'm actually going straight into writing a brand new show after this. I've been commissioned by Nebraska Wesleyan University to write a full-length musical for them. So that's going to go up in spring of 2023. So I've written a couple songs for it already, and now I'm just going to dive straight into finishing that, or finishing 45 minutes of that by April is my goal right now. So I don't really have a break. I just have to go straight into the next thing, which I'm kind of excited about.
That's really awesome. And I mean, honestly, sometimes, I mean, breaks are good, breaks are nice, but also like sometimes you just gotta keep going on things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. For sure.
Um, do you have anything else that you would like to add or
Um,
discuss or
just that I hope people enjoy listening to it and have fun listening to it. Like that's I didn't want it to feel like a musical theater album in that way. I wanted it to really be like I can just listen to this in the car and like have a great time. So that's how I hope people feel about it. And yeah, I think that's it.
all right. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Kailey. It was a pleasure talking with you. And if anyone watching this wanted to follow you on social media, where could they find you?
You can find me at kmarshland on Instagram. You can also go to my website, kaileymarshall.com. And that has my Instagram and that have links to Spotify, SoundCloud, all of those, Apple Music, all of those great things. So that's where you can find me.
That's awesome. And in the meantime, our Manor 208 social medias are at Manor_208 on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and everything. So Ghostwriter by Miss Kailey Marshall is streaming on most major streaming platforms. So that is all for now. Thank you for tuning in. And this has been Manor 208. All right.